They said beauty was Kaima's curse. The villagers watched as she was dragged through the dusty road, wrists tied with rope, tears tracing paths through the dirt on her face. Her uncle, Chuka, walked behind her shouting, "Ungrateful witch. You will marry him, even if it kills you." Ahead, under the mango tree, stood the man she was to marry, a limping beggar with a torn hat and a stick. The crowd murmured, "Poor Kaima, so young, so beautiful." Kaima's lips trembled. The rope around her wrists burned, but her heart burned more. She looked at the limping man and whispered, "So this is how my story ends." But her story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. In a quiet African village lived a young girl named Kaima. She was only 19, but life had already taught her what sadness tasted like. Her skin was as dark and smooth as fresh palm oil. She was beautiful. When she smiled, even the birds on the mango tree seemed to pause and listen. But behind that smile was a story no one cared to know. Kaima lost both parents in a fire when she was 11. The flames swallowed her home and her laughter in one night. Thereafter, she was taken to live with her mother's brother, Uncle Chuka, and his wife, Aunt and Ma. They had 2 daughters, Ada and Jane, who wore fine clothes and called her the orphan. From the first day she entered their compound, Kaima understood she was not family. She was a helper, a housemaid, and sometimes even a punching bag when things went wrong. Every morning before the cock crowed, she swept the yard, fetched water, washed plates, and cooked food she would never eat first. "Kaima, hurry up and grind the pepper." Aunt and Ma would shout. "Kaima, your legs are too slow." Ada would hiss. "Kaima, if you break that plate, I will break your head," her uncle warned. And Kaima, gentle like her late mother, never replied. She knew that silence was safer than truth. If she talked back, she would sleep outside. If she cried, they would say she was pretending. Her only friends were the wind, the birds, and the moon. Sometimes at night, she would sit behind the house, look up, and whisper to the stars, "Papa, Mama, if you can see me, please tell God I'm trying." As Kaima grew, her beauty became like light in a dark room, impossible to ignore. When she walked to the stream with her water pot, men stopped talking. When she smiled, women rolled their eyes. Her skin glowed like polished wood, her waist small, her steps graceful like a dancer. But in her uncle's house, beauty was not a blessing. It was a problem. Suitors began coming, rich men from the city who came to the village looking for wives. At first, they came for Ada or Jane. But after seeing Kaima quietly pounding yam or washing clothes, they changed their minds. "Who is that girl with calm eyes?" one man asked Uncle Chuka. "She's my niece," Uncle replied proudly. "But she's not ready for marriage." Inside, he was boiling. That evening, Aunt Ma's voice cut through the house like a knife. "You useless girl. Every man comes here for my daughters, but you steal their eyes. You want to open your legs and fly out of my house? You think beauty feeds anyone." Kaima tried to explain, but before she could finish, a slap landed on her cheek. Uncle Chuka joined in, his voice loud and cruel. "Since you refuse to respect yourself, I will make sure no man ever marries you. You will marry a madman if possible." Tears filled Kaima's eyes, but she bit her lips and said nothing. She had learned long ago that pain was easier to carry in silence. From that day, everything changed. She no longer ate with the family. They locked the bathroom and forced her to bathe outside with cold water. Her cousins mocked her whenever visitors came. "Go and wear your rag," Jane laughed. "Maybe one rich man will fall in love again," Ada added. Kaima wiped her eyes and whispered to herself, "One day God will see me." One hot afternoon, when the sun burned like fire, a stranger walked into Uncle Chuka's compound. He wore dusty, torn clothes and carried a wooden walking stick. His hat covered half his face, and he limped as if every step hurt. The neighbors whispered, "Who is this beggar?" The man greeted quietly and asked to see Uncle Chuka. They talked in low tones near the mango tree. After a few minutes, Uncle's face brightened like someone who had found money. "You're serious?" Uncle asked. "Yes," the man replied softly. "I want to marry Kaima." "But you have nothing," Uncle said, pretending to be concerned. The man smiled faintly. "I have enough for someone who is humble." They shook hands, a deal made in darkness. That night, Uncle Chuka called everyone. "Kaima, sit down," he said. "We've found a husband for you." Kaima froze. "Who is he?" No need for questions, Aunt Ma snapped. You're lucky anyone wants you at all. The wedding will be in 2 weeks. Ada and Jane laughed from the corner. Kaima sat quietly, her heart pounding. Marry a stranger? A beggar? Without love or choice. She couldn't sleep that night. She stared at the roof and whispered, God, is this my life? The next day, she saw him again at the village square. He was feeding birds with groundnuts. His clothes were old, but his hands were clean, his nails trimmed. There was something strange about him, too calm, too sure. Good afternoon, sir, Kaima greeted shyly. Good afternoon, Kaima, he said, turning to her. She was surprised. You know my name? He smiled. Your uncle shouted it enough times yesterday. She almost laughed. You're the man I'm supposed to marry. Yes, he said gently. But why me? She asked. Because you are different. Different. The word stayed in her heart like a small fire. That night, she sat behind the house, hugging her knees. The moon was half full. She heard footsteps. It was him again. He spoke softly. I know this isn't what you wanted, but I promise you something, Kaima. I will never hurt you. If you wish to leave after the wedding, I will let you go. Kaima blinked, confused. No one had ever spoken to her with kindness before. Why are you being nice to me? She asked. He smiled. Because I see you. The wedding day came dull and gray, with no music, no smiles, and no joy. Kaima wore a torn lace gown that smelled of dust. Her cousins laughed behind the curtains. Look at our bride. Even beggars will pity her. The pastor read the vows like someone in a hurry to go home. Do you, Kelechi, take Kaima as your wife? I do. And you, Kaima? She looked at the man, calm eyes, gentle smile, no judgment. I do. That was it. No food. No dancing. Just silence. As they walked out, Aunt Ma shouted, Good riddance. Uncle Chuka didn't look up. The beggar held Kaima's hand. Let's go, he said. Instead of a footpath, there was a black SUV G-Wagon waiting. The driver jumped out and opened the door. Good afternoon, sir, he said. Kaima froze. Sir? She entered the car quietly, her heart racing. This was not how poor men lived. The seat smelled of leather, not dust. Her mind screamed, Who is this man? They drove for miles. The air was cold and silent. Kaima finally asked, Who are you really? He smiled slightly. My name is Kelechi Nwosu. That part is true, but I am not a beggar. Kaima's mouth fell open. Then who are you? He looked out the window. My father owned Nwosu Transport Company, the same one your uncle worked for. Years ago, he cheated my father in a land deal, forged signatures, and stole our money. The scandal destroyed us. My father died of heartbreak. I came back not for revenge, but for truth. Kaima covered her mouth, tears burning her eyes. So my uncle? Yes, Kelechi said softly. He sold you to me, thinking I was poor. He thought he was throwing you away. But I saw something in you he never saw, kindness. Kaima looked down, her heart beating fast. You knew everything and still wanted to marry me? He nodded. I wanted to see if beauty could survive cruelty. She cried quietly, and he let her. From now on, he said, no one will treat you like trash again. When the car stopped, Kaima stepped out and gasped. Before her stood a golden gate taller than any she'd ever seen. Behind it, fountains danced in front of a mansion that sparkled under the sun. Servants in uniform bowed. Welcome, madam. Kaima held her breath. Madam, Kelechi smiled. Yes, Kaima. This is your home now. Inside, she saw marble floors, glowing lights, and a bed softer than anything she had ever touched. Tears rolled down her cheeks. For years, she had slept on raffia mats. Now she lay on silk. She pressed her palms together and whispered, Thank you, God. You remembered me. That night, she stood on the balcony, looking at the stars. Kelechi joined her quietly. What do you want to do now? He asked. I want to go back, she said. Back? Yes. I want them to see what they tried to destroy. When the black SUV G-Wagon drove into the village, people ran to see. Children shouted. Women whispered. Who is that? It looks like Kaima. No, impossible. That can't be the same girl. Aunt Ma came out with a broom, frozen like a statue. Ada dropped her calabash of water. Jane hid behind the curtain. Uncle Chuka walked out slowly, his mouth open. Kaima stepped out, glowing like morning light. Her gown was simple but royal. Kelechi stood beside her in a fine blue suit. Good afternoon, Uncle, she said softly. No one answered. Kelechi handed Uncle a small box. "This is for you," he said. Inside were old land documents and proof of the theft. "It's not money," he added. "It's the truth." Kaima looked at her uncle. "You called me cursed. You said I would marry a madman. But God turned my shame into honor." She turned to Aunt and Ma. "I came to say thank you. Because if you didn't throw me out, I would never have met my destiny." She placed an envelope on the bench. "For you and your daughters. Buy food. Buy soap. Buy peace." Then she turned to the crowd. "I'm not here to boast. I just want you to know, when people bury you, they don't know you are a seed." The whole village went silent. Some wept. Some knelt. And as the SUV drove away, the dust behind it carried whispers of her name. Kaima, the beggar's bride who became a blessing. Back in the mansion, Kaima couldn't stop thinking about her past. She didn't want to waste her miracle on revenge. She wanted to use it to help others like her. So she started a project, a women's center for widows, orphans, and single mothers. She taught them sewing, soap making, and cooking to earn a living. When the first batch graduated, she cried watching them sing and dance in joy. One girl said, "Auntie Kaima, you gave us hope." Kayama smiled through her tears. "Hope was already inside you," she said. "You just needed someone to remind you." Soon, the story of the beggar's bride spread across towns. Some called her lucky, but those who knew said, no, she was faithful. Months later, Kaima went with Kelechi to visit her parents' grave. She knelt beside the soil under the mango tree and whispered, "Mama, Papa, I made it. I'm not hungry anymore. They called me cursed, but you raised me blessed." She stood and looked at Kelechi. "Let's build a shelter here," she said. "For travelers, for strangers, for anyone who needs rest." He nodded. "We will." Years passed, and the shelter became a place where tired souls found peace. Children played in the garden. Women learned new skills. And every evening, when the sun melted into gold, Kaima would walk through the flowers, wearing a simple silver necklace that said "Seen." Kelechi had given it to her one night and whispered, "I saw you when no one else did, and I'll keep seeing you every day." 5 years later, Kaima received shocking news. Uncle Chuka was dying. She went alone to see him. He was weak, lying on a bamboo mat, eyes sunken. "Kaima," he croaked, "I don't deserve your forgiveness." Kaima knelt beside him. "I forgave you long ago." He shook his head. "There's something I never told you. The fire that killed your parents, it wasn't an accident." Kaima froze. "What?" Tears rolled down his face. "Your father found out about my theft. That night, I wanted to burn the documents. I didn't know they were inside." Kaima's heart stopped. The ground felt heavy. She covered her mouth and wept silently. "I have carried that guilt for years," he whispered. "Please pray for me." Kaima looked at him, the man who ruined her life, and whispered, "I already have." He smiled weakly and took his last breath. Then she left. That night, Kaima sat on the balcony, staring at the stars. Kelechi joined her. "You found peace, didn't you?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, because forgiveness isn't about them. It's about freeing yourself." He smiled and handed her a silver necklace engraved with one word, "Seen." "I saw you," he said softly, "when no one else did." Kaima leaned on his shoulder. "And I'll spend the rest of my life seeing others." Years later, people told her story everywhere. Children whispered it at night. Women repeated it to remind themselves that kindness is not weakness. And when Kaima spoke at events, she always ended with the same words. Your story doesn't end where others leave you. Sometimes, God hides your crown inside your pain. Be kind even when the world is cruel, because one day, the kindness you gave will come back wearing gold. Kindness is never wasted. Kaima's beauty was not in her face, but in her heart. Her pain became her power, her silence became her strength, and her forgiveness became her freedom. No matter how deep the pit people throw you into, if your heart stays clean, God will lift you higher than their walls. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and comment.